basically have to face the reality that tomorrow they might have to go work at McDonald's. And it was a big joke across TikTok, but it's really not that far-fetched. People would have had to go and find different jobs to be able to make up for these sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars that they're making on TikTok simply because they were not ready for something like that to happen.
If you're a real estate agent and you're tired of cold calling, door knocking, and spending money on ads, then subscribe to this podcast. We discuss leveraging the power of YouTube for your real estate business and how these strategies earned us over $1 million in GCI our first year in real estate. My name is Levi Lascsak and my partner is Travis Plum. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Passive Prospecting Podcast, and say that 3 times fast, by the way. But today we are discussing the YouTube ban. YouTube ban? Wait a second. I thought TikTok was the one that was getting banned. Or is it? Or is YouTube? No, YouTube's not getting banned, at least as of this moment. But we do want to discuss what could happen if that were to happen. But with recent events, especially when it comes to TikTok getting temporarily shut down, now it's in a temporary hold pattern. I believe it is 90 days that President Trump just signed as a delay. So there's still something that could take place. As of right now, it's restored. But what should you do as a content creator to safeguard yourself from a possible shutdown, whether that is TikTok, Instagram, or God forbid, YouTube? So I don't know. I would maybe just retire and move to another country if they ban YouTube, maybe so. But as always, joined by my trusty sidekick and co-host, Krissy Owens. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. Excited to be here, as always.
Yep. And you love TikTok, right? I mean, you just love some TikTok, scrolling endlessly on there till you're no, it's somebody else, one of our. But yeah, so let's talk about this and especially what this means for content creators. Let's talk about what would happen in the event of a YouTube ban, possibly. And just as I mentioned, right now, TikTok. Yeah, TikTok is just delayed. Now, it's interesting. I saw a little bit of Trump's press conference last night. I don't know, press conference, or he was in the office talking to reporters. And they asked specifically about TikTok. And he said, I don't know. We'll see. Maybe I won with the kids. I won a lot with the kids. I won a bunch of points, the greatest points with kids in history. But he said, interestingly, though, all joking aside, is he said, I think we should have a joint venture. And I think the U.S. should own 50% of TikTok, at least, is what he said. So it's interesting because, again, one of these things that he's throwing out there, which is going to create the stir. Of course, that should be all the headlines, at least in TikTok world today, which is Trump wants 50% of TikTok. So, and he claims that this is hundreds of billion. Well, it is. I mean, it's definitely a multi-billion-dollar platform. Could that be worth hundreds of billions? He said it could be even worth $1 trillion on the app. So that could be 500 billion of value bringing into the U.S. So interesting take on that. And one of his negotiating tactics, of course, which is go for everything, and then see what comes to pass after that. But it's, again, I mean, he's talking about taking over a lot, the Gulf of America, the Panama Canal, Greenland, and now TikTok. So interesting conversation where we're at. And again, what would happen if this happened to YouTube? Although YouTube is American owned, right, by Google. So at least we have that going for us on YouTube. But you had some thoughts around this as well. What do you make of the whole TikTok thing?
Well, it is interesting to see just where people are going. And I think it was a wake-up call for creators everywhere, because anytime that you put all your eggs in one basket, if that's taken away, then you're done, right? And so it's always been something across businesses, across marketing experts. They've always said you need to diversify the way that you take care of your leads and the way that you collect them and everything. So first and foremost, I think everyone needs to make sure that at the core of their marketing strategy, no matter what platform you're on, you are collecting leads at the end of the day. And you need to have a CRM system to back up all of that stuff. Because if you have an email list, if you have phone numbers, you have contact information, then you can still use that information after something gets banned. And in lieu of while you're trying to figure out where your next lead source is going to come from and things like that. If that all gets taken away overnight and you're doing all of your DMing on Instagram or on TikTok, or you're only spending time in the YouTube comments, it's going to make it really difficult for you to be able to recover from something like a TikTok ban. I watched accounts that they had done all of their work on TikTok over the last 3 or 4 years basically have to face the reality that tomorrow they might have to go work at McDonald's. And it was a big joke across TikTok, but it's really not that far-fetched. People would have had to go and find different jobs to be able to make up for these sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars that they're making on TikTok simply because they were not ready.
Hey, you should check out our new community for free. This is where we host all of our in-depth training. You can get access to full-length courses and a vibrant, supportive community of business owners just like you who are generating leads from YouTube. We also offer Q&As and trainings all week long to make sure that we're supporting you in your YouTube journey no matter where you are. This group is all about passive prospecting so that you don't have to spend money on ads, cold call, door knock, or do any of the traditional marketing methods that most people don't like to do. So the link is in the description below. Make sure you sign up, say hi to me in the community, and I will plan on seeing you on YouTube.
A lot of people thought that it was completely out of the question because it's been threatened so many times that it kind of became white noise to people. But then there was the reality that set in when that 12-hour period, kind of settled in, and people are like, well, okay, maybe I'm not going to be able to ever get back into my TikTok account. So you really have to approach any platform that you're using the exact same way. I actually remember back in my Facebook marketing days when that was really my main source of marketing. That was something that they were talking about in that scene as well. Every marketing expert I spoke to said the same thing. You've got to set up that email list. You've got to get contact information, because without that, you don't have a business anymore. So that's the first thing you need to do, is secure your business with that email list. Get involved with the CRM. Luckily, we have a CRM too. So for real estate agents specifically, we've kind of already built out that whole process for you so that you can have the follow-up and, all of the sequences and things like that go with, whether they're in the active phase or if they're ghosting, we've got everything built out from A to Z on that. But if that's not what you're using, you need to find something that does work for you so that you can be following up with these clients. The second thing I would say too is that now that we have had that happen, yes, TikTok is back for now, and maybe it'll be back forever. Who knows? But either way you look at that, because this was such a huge wake-up call for people, I'm seeing a lot of creators who were TikTok heavy now having incentives for people to come and follow them on Instagram. I've also seen people make the jump from TikTok all the way to long form on YouTube, because people are realizing that long form content really does equal longevity over time. That's what's going to continually bring you back those leads time and time again, versus short form. You have to be very, very intentional about it, and you have to keep up with it no matter what. It's like a daily ritual for most of these creators. And unless you're really thinking about it on a daily basis, it's going to be difficult to generate leads that way. So YouTube, on the other hand, is really more of a cadence of 2 to 3 times a week. And you really have to think of bigger, longer ideas, and then you can set it and forget it. So YouTube, I've seen a huge jump with creators going straight from TikTok, which was super short form, over to long form videos that are, 5 to 10 minutes long minimum. So I would definitely say there's going to be a huge surge between Instagram and TikTok, Instagram and YouTube. We're going to see big surges in traffic over there just because more people are starting to recognize that TikTok isn't safe. So YouTube has probably been the safest platform out there. So you got to get on YouTube. If you're not on there now, you need to be on YouTube. It's the safest place, probably the steadiest source for traffic that we've seen aside from Google itself.
Yeah, and I wonder, now YouTube just launched 3-minute shorts, and Instagram all of a sudden launched 3-minute reels.
Yep.
So already you're moving into long form content territory right there.
Yep.
Which is interesting. I wonder if the temporary shutdown, how long was it down for? 24, 48 hours?
Well, I think it was about 12 hours actually.
12 hours. Okay. So a couple of interesting things about that. Number one, I wonder if that messed with everybody's algorithm. I wonder if that just was a glitch in the matrix now, to where, if you were used to seeing daily momentum. I'm just curious. And if any of you have a solid TikTok account out there and want to comment below and let me know if you saw any glitch in your algorithm. Well, that would be interesting to find out. So that's one thing. I wonder now too if Biden would have wished he hadn't have punted this to Trump, because now I feel like if Biden would have just signed it back in or said, you know, we're not doing that, he could have claimed to save TikTok. You know, that could have been a parting shot, or as far as I did something good at the end there, which was save TikTok.
Allow me to take a quick break to remind you that we have very important links in the description below. If you want the full story of how we closed over $1 million in commissions our first year and over $2.3 million in commissions our second year, check out the first link. Also, you have the link to our #1 Amazon best-selling book, Passive Prospecting. Last, if you enjoy this podcast and you're a giving person, leave a 5-star review, please. Now back to the episode.
And now he just punted it to Trump, and now Trump's talking about again negotiating and taking half, and you know he's serious, and so it'll be interesting how that plays off. But yeah, going back to capturing information. Now this is something we have gone back and forth on. You know, we're not big on lead magnets, although you know lead magnet. Blah blah blah. See, now you don't have to be perfect on video, by the way, or for whatever reason, I'm crashing and burning. Maybe because I've already done a couple of hours worth of training this morning.
A lot of stuff today. So
I always think it doesn't affect me, but then whenever I start talking, I'm like, oh wow. Although I feel great, I don't know, but all right. So let me slow this down a little bit. And
it's just so exciting, Levi. We're talking about exciting things today.
So excited. Okay, so what was I saying, by the way?
You were talking about capture. We've gone back and forth on lead capture.
Lead, yeah. So that's the lead magnets. That's the question at hand, because you know we have tested lead magnets on the channel, and we have closed a couple of deals from there, but the conversion is our lowest point, because we always track all of our forms of inbound leads, whether they come from phone calls, text, emails, Zoom calls, or lead magnets. When we had that, ultimately we reduced that or eliminated it because it had the absolute lowest conversion. What's interesting on those other lead sources is that we stayed pretty consistent between 15 to 25% conversion on those, which by the way, Zooms were our #1 converting. Number 2 was surveys. So that's the interesting part too, is that before they book a Zoom call with us, they go through a brief survey. There I go again. Survey. About 5 questions, I think, is what they answer on there. And sometimes people go through that survey, submit their information, and then not book the Zoom call. And when we reach out to those surveys, clearly we've captured their information. So in a way, you could say that is a form of a lead magnet as well. We have converted those. That's the second highest lead source that is convertible on our channel, which is interesting because it's kind of like, oh, they went 80% way through that process and then stopped for whatever reason. Maybe they just were like, okay, this is a great idea. Oh, I don't want to jump on Zoom, whatever the reason may be. But otherwise, that is a lead magnet in a way, or a lead source that we've been able to convert high. When we have a downloadable guide or a moving to Dallas guide or a relocation guide, we get people to download that, but very hard to get a hold of. Not that conversational relationship isn't really seems to be as established as when they've reached out to us. So very interesting concept, but ultimately we just thought let's remove that, because when people are ready and they reach out to us, we typically get them under contract within 60 days as well. But at the same time, from the standpoint of building your database consistently, because yes, you can get a lot of clicks and a lot of downloads for that stuff. Just interesting to catch 22 in a way, as far as which is better. I'm curious, if you're watching this too, your comments down below, if you've converted well from lead magnets, or if it's better for you whenever you just have people reach out to you directly. Any thoughts on that? Because the other main thing is on Instagram, right? Instagram or TikTok. Wouldn't that be the main lead source, is some sort of downloadable guide or information capture?
Yeah, I was going to say that is really the short form does better with generally speaking, the free giveaways and things like that, because you can capture information. And really the short form is really a quantity over quality in many cases. I mean, I've seen Moseri is the one who's kind of the lead on the Instagram algorithm. He's one of the developers behind it. And he always comes out and he bounces back and forth between the quality and the quantity. In fact, today he actually released another update because he's doing a series on how to rank on Instagram, which is really interesting. But
That's got the curly hair.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
I just blow past because every time I'm like, oh my God, another update. I feel like he's in my feed every day. Oh, we've just updated something on Instagram.
Well, they definitely have this whole weekend, they announced things like 3 times a day, Friday to Monday. And I think they were trying to take advantage of the TikTok ban while people were really, really, invested in Instagram. But yeah, he just came out today saying they're going to do a 5 or 6 video series on the secrets behind the Instagram algorithm. So that's going to be very interesting to see. But his first video, and this is something I've heard him, constantly talk about.
Hey, you should check out my new community for free. It's where I host all of my more in-depth trainings, and you're going to get access to step-by-step courses showing you how to get buyer and seller leads for your business using passive prospecting, a supportive community of over 1,300 members, and weekly group coaching sessions you can attend and ask questions. Now, this community is all about passive prospecting and getting quality buyer and seller leads through YouTube without spending a penny on ads or cold calling. Now, the link is in the description below, so make sure you join for free today and say hi to me when you get in the community. I look forward to seeing you there.
Is that getting out more content consistently, while you want it to be good content as far as what you're actually talking about, it's less important on the actual production value. It's more important to get it out daily if you possibly can. Whereas with YouTube, it's really more about quality versus quantity. And we do kind of, we like to see 2 to 3 pieces of quality content each week, just because that consistency is really important. But it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be every single day to see those results. And so typically with the short form, you're going to find that those lead captures are effective because you're getting a large group of people to click on that and download that, and then you can market to those people. Whereas with these real estate leads, the ones who are intentional are the ones who are actually going to buy a house, especially when you're dealing with a high value product or service. You're selling a house. So this is a very expensive item. People who actually want to call you and reach out to you and give you that information, you only want the really good clients there and the really good information there. So I still stand by the fact that you probably shouldn't have any type of lead capture on your YouTube channel. And really, you just want someone to subscribe or sign up for a call with you, which then captures their information, because that's an intentional freebie basically. Whereas the other one, you can kind of passively read that whenever you want to, and then you get marketed to hundreds of times.
Yeah. So what should people do as far as their content? I mean, where do you put it? If it's not on TikTok, what if YouTube and Instagram go away tomorrow? Then what?
Well, I think that's the beautiful thing about having an email list, though, is that you can still send videos out to people, even if it's not on YouTube, and that's still useful. Now, again, YouTube is great because it's a free way to get your emails out. It's a free way to reach hundreds and thousands of people a day, potentially. So that's ideal. But if that were to go away for a short period of time, which again, there's never really been a threat that YouTube's in danger at any point. So I think it's the safest platform out there anyway. If that goes away, I think everything is going to go away because Google owns YouTube and it is the author of the internet. So I think that's probably the one that you don't have to worry too much about. But if it did go away, if there was a blackout or something like that, at least you would have some type of access or be able to recover those leads in some way. And you could go back to your original things that worked for you. If you did have to go back and door knock, you'd have the phone numbers, you'd have the addresses of those people potentially, whereas if you're just focusing on what people have texted you over time, you go back and you have to go through thousands of text messages and you've never actually stored that information anywhere. That's going to be pretty difficult to be able to replicate what you were doing before YouTube and be able to kind of recover during some type of shutdown like that, which again, don't think that's going to happen, but always be prepared.
Yeah, and of course, you want to have a website, your own website, your own branded website, and these videos could easily be housed on the website in blogs, and you could create it like a video forward website as well.
Mhm.
Uh, and yeah, as long as you're building your email list and continually add to that, you release a new video. And if there were no social platforms, you could embed it on some hosting site, embed that in your blog, and you could email out your blog with that video link in there to reach people on top of that. So would be a little bit of a stretch. Boy, that'd be like the old days. That'd be like the old internet days before social media. But with YouTube, yeah, founded in 2005, which was really just right around the same time as Facebook. Instagram was what, 2009 or 2011?
Oh gosh, I couldn't tell you, but it was around that range. Yeah.
Yeah,
It was
maybe 2000.
probably 2011 sounds right.
Yeah, I think
2009. I think so.
2011, and TikTok was 2020-ish or so. But yeah, I mean, YouTube's got the longevity on there, and now it's interesting with the shorts aspect. Now, something we've always advised people is, posting shorts on your channel. I would hold off until you're producing the amount of business you want to produce from long form content. Now, clearly there's creators out there that mix and match short form and long form. And I know of real estate channels that do that as well. And I can tell by views that they have to be getting leads. They have to be getting leads. We've done 3, maybe 4 experiments now with shorts on the channel. Never could really see the results exactly that I was looking for. Didn't hurt the channel, but those individual videos, as YouTube will tell you, they live on their own, and it doesn't pull down the view duration of your entire channel. Because each video is judged individually. So, ultimately what YouTube is looking for is the percentage viewed of each video. So even if you have a short, which is a minute, then they even have the metric in there when you go into studio, swipe away, I think is what it's called. But ultimately they're looking for shorts that, at least have 80%. And from what I've seen, that they'll push out there even further. So they're wanting people to watch a high amount of a short form piece of content, but that's what really matters to them. So if you have got a minute video on there, they just want to know, does somebody watch pretty much that whole video? Now, they definitely give you grace on the long form content, especially if you're making 30 minutes, 45 minutes, hour long videos. Then if you're above 20% on that for the percentage viewed, probably still going to be okay. 30, great. 40% ideal. And overall, you want people sticking on your videos and sharing your videos for sure. And so now the challenge is whenever they share those videos and they're an hour, I'm not sure if I would ever watch a video that somebody shared with me that's an hour, unless somebody shares it with somebody they know is in the market or might be interested in that, or they told them they're researching. So there could be some validation behind that. But ultimately, you can look at that in your analytics, look at the shares on your videos. I would probably argue that shares are going to be highest with your highest viewed videos. So the more they get shared, the more confident that YouTube gets to push those out. So keep that in mind. I'm not saying that don't make 30, 40 or hour long videos, but again, make a video as long as it needs to be. Don't keep talking just to keep talking. You don't have to shortchange it. You don't have to keep it to 5 minutes or 8 minutes. You can make it as long as it needs to be, which means provide the value that is needed to get the message across for that content. And if that's an hour video, which I think my longest is an hour and 34 by accident, but for that video, we went into a new community. It's an hour away, but that community is going to have a 5 to 8 year build out, something like 7,000 homes in that community. And they had 13 model homes. So I just thought, man, if we're going to drive all the way down there, let's tour all 13. It was a very long day, but we made it through, and each tour was only about 10 minutes per home. But you add that all up, and it was about an hour and a half whenever it's said and done. And, that we're generating calls for that particular community. And so I know any other agent that goes out to that community is only probably going to film 1, 2, or 3 model homes. Maybe they make a series, but for people to be able to reference an entire video of all 13 models, because even if you go out as a client and look at all 13 models, anything over 5 to 6 homes in a day, your brain kind of mushes together. It's very hard you don't go back home and say, oh yeah, I really like the Highland. Wait, which Highland? There was 2 Highlands. What about the David Weekley? Oh, wait. What about the Taylor Morrison? Which one was that? Or somebody's going, wait. And now you've got a video. Oh, here's this video on YouTube, and they actually have all 13. Oh, here we can check back and look at the Highland home. Oh yeah, that's right. That's the Highland home. Yeah, duh. Okay. I mean, it's a great reference point. Which is why we did that. But, I don't set out saying, hey, time to make an hour and a half long video. It was, we're going to get through all these homes, talk about the community. And when it's edited, it'll be as long as it needs to be, But I don't know. We're going to play around, I think, with the 3-minute shorts, not on our main channel, possibly, but, we could look at some other avenues on that as well. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out on Instagram. Is TikTok going to come out with 3, or have they had 3 minutes?
Yeah, they've had them for a while. I think actually you can do up to 10 minutes on TikTok. The struggle with TikTok, and the reason why we've kind of not done a huge push on TikTok is because TikTok generally does better with e-commerce businesses. It's not very effective with service-based businesses, just simply because the attention span isn't there. And you're really dealing with almost a really different generation, really, people who are not really interested in home ownership right now, at least from what I've seen. Now, I will say there are outliers. I have seen people, there's actually one in particular, I can't remember what his name is. I think his name is Troy, but he does speed tours on TikTok and does very, very well. However, I think he also speaks to a younger group. And generally speaking, realtors that are on YouTube, a lot of the people I know are kind of speaking to an older generation as well. So I think it really comes down to kind of what your archetype is. And you really need to understand the demographic that you're working with, because there are a lot of other realtors that have also abandoned things like TikTok and Instagram simply because it's not generating leads. YouTube is a lot easier for people to generate leads just because there's more intentional people on YouTube who are wanting to be in the learning process and the discovery process. Whereas, we talk a lot about interruption versus intention marketing. You're really interrupting people when they're going through TikTok. It's an accident a lot of times when people will land on there. Not an accident per se to the algorithm. The algorithm knows everything, right? Based on what you've been searching for, it's going to serve you that material. But generally speaking, people are not really looking for that. They land upon it. And if they're interested, they'll continue to watch that content, and then they become a frequent follower. So you have to think about how much work you want to put into it. I generally think the short form is much harder than the long form. The long form, you sit down, you talk about one topic, and you're done. After you've done it, you set it and you forget it. Whereas short form, you're going to have to be very intentional, very strategic about what you're putting out, when you put it out, how many you're putting out, and who you're putting it out to, because you're dealing with a that's not even a word, a bigger pool, a huge pool, a bigger pool, a huge people. Yeah, huge group of people that are, it's a bigger pool of people that are distracted. It's just a distracted. Both of those short form platforms are a distraction piece, right? People go there to escape. Whereas with YouTube, it's really more of it is a search engine. And so people are treating YouTube more like they're treating Google when they're looking for information. So you have to think about the amount of work you want to put into it. If you don't have a whole lot of downloads to give away, if you don't have a lot of freebies to give away, Instagram and TikTok are going to be a little bit more difficult, not impossible, but just more difficult to get really good leads from. You're going to have to deal with a lot more leads that are probably a lot of them going to be duds.
Yeah, real interesting on the TikTok thing, the speed home tour person you're talking. I know what you're talking about, and also I think he's very, very young. I want to say very young, 20-ish.
He's in his 20s, yeah, I believe so.
Maybe 19 to 21, somewhere in that age range. And again, amazing real estate agent. I don't know, could be, but at the same time, again, I wonder, do you know of anybody on TikTok that has a serious account that is not some sort of gimmick? And I don't want to say gimmick, but I mean gimmicky in a way that is because I know that is meant to be funny, right? It's like, oh, I'm going to run through this house and I've seen this. Other people have done this. The running through one of the guys now blew up because he talks smack, like actually literally says,
Yep.
this shit's for sale,
Yep.
and just, oh, yeah, yeah, high ceilings, great, wow, big deal. Oh, garage door, every house has them, just kind of now. And some lady is holds her little microphone. She's like crouched in the corner.
Yes, I've seen those too.
This, this home has
Yeah, I think she's a Utah real estate
yeah.
agent. Yeah, she's highlights, the sunrise view.
And so it's like, and it's cool. I get it. I like it. But is there anybody that's just like a regular? Because I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like on YouTube, we're regular people. I mean, yeah, do I make some dad jokes here and there? Yes, but I'm not. I'm not like trying to find like what's my stick. What's my shtick?
Mhm.
What's my catch? And again, nothing wrong with that. And I'm sure I know they're doing business. They have to, especially with the views
Mhm.
they're getting. But also, I spoke with Stage last year, somebody that millions and millions of views on Instagram, and they had only closed 3 deals that year
Mhm.
for Instagram, which that kind of blew me away. And so I just thought, okay. And then they said, yeah, we're having a lot of good conversations. And I don't want to downplay that either, but I was just thinking, man, that sounds like, especially when their top 3 videos had 3.5, 4 million views.
Yeah.
And I'm just thinking, okay, that's one thing. It's yes, will people click on your link or submit their info or ask a question? And again, yes, that can turn into some deals, but will that convert as good as YouTube? And I'm just curious. Now that I think about it, of course, I'm actually not on TikTok. So, but even on Instagram, I don't know if I've come across Instagram accounts, and I guess maybe serious. I don't know. I see a lot of agents now just standing in front of a home saying, "This is what you can get in Dallas for 600,000," and then it just tours through the home, and then those will get hundreds of thousands.
Mhm.
And I'm like, so I guess I could say that's more of a serious account, not really.
Mhm.
But I don't know any ones that stand out to you where people would provide, because here's my other thing with Instagram is because saying this, I always say you're one thumb swipe away from a cat video,
Yeah.
right? So I mean, you can get distracted easily on there. Number 2, like you said, most people that I know have never said, hey honey, it's time to buy a house, let's go look at Instagram, or let's go on TikTok and let's find the funniest agent we can find. But it's one of those things where I just don't know of the accounts that are absolutely crushing it with regular real estate content.
Yeah, and I would say definitely real estate is one of those that I haven't seen really super, super successful brands aside from those outlier, you know, examples that we've kind of talked about on TikTok. And again, the reason that that particular person, again, he's young, so he's in the age group that's actually the most active on TikTok. So that's a happy accident, right? But also he's totally leaning into his own archetype. He is a jester. That is one of the main archetypes that you can lean into from a marketing perspective. And he plays into that humor. If that's not who you are, and that's the other thing you have to keep in mind with TikTok and Instagram, but TikTok even more so than Instagram, it's the dopamine hit that people are looking for. So unless you're on the high or the low, it's going to be really hard to be successful on there because TikTok is all about the storytelling, but it's usually the shock stories that do really well, super sad stories, super happy stories, or comedy that do the very, very best, at least from what I've seen on TikTok, which is why a lot of times you're going to find that e-commerce brands do better than service-based businesses on TikTok because you've got TikTok Shop. They've kind of catered to those quick, knee-jerk reaction kind of purchases. So people who are buying stuff just because they see an ad for it or they're influenced by somebody, you're going to see that more so on TikTok than even on Instagram. Again, Instagram's a little bit more of a mature audience.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually. I just text my friend Juan to see because I
Mhm.
remember he spoke a couple of weeks ago. We were on a mastermind call and he was talking about somebody that had an IG. I think they closed. He said 170 deals last year,
Mhm.
and 65% of them, something like that, was from Instagram. So
Mhm.
but he didn't want to say publicly who that was. So I'm going to
Yeah.
text him, find out. But also, I get the other point I was thinking of is that on Instagram, it's very hard for somebody to get the full picture.
Mhm.
If I went to an agent's grid, could I really truly learn about Frisco, Texas or Plano, Texas? Or would you have a post about Plano, Texas, and then you have a post about 10 things to do in Dallas, and then a post
Mhm.
about Plano, Texas. And then, I can only really learn things kind of in 60-second increments. And most people don't, do a series of reels on a particular area. So I could actually go through the grid and learn something very, very in depth. So I don't know.
Mhm.
It's definitely. I know people are turning over business. It's nothing. It's nothing you should ignore if you have capacity. I think. I mean, we're experimenting this year with the new IG account, and as soon as we get some results back on that, doing a lot of testing right now, see what we can do. I mean, it's something that I definitely don't want to ignore anymore as well, because I have been just focused on YouTube, but there's no reason that we can't have something from IG as well. Plus,
Yeah.
content that I'm looking at and working on, and it doesn't really take much effort from me. So, that was the other reason is if it doesn't take away too much time, then we can do that. But ultimately, I don't know. We've done so much. I just over the last 4 years, 482 transactions. I just don't hear like that type of volume from short form. Can somebody do 50, 60 transactions? I've heard that time and time again. I'm trying to find out who this person was that probably maybe closed 100, 120. And I know there's some other accounts out there, I'm sure, that have done that. I just don't, I guess I'm not finding that on a consistent basis. And also I'm at a lot of conferences and share the stage with a lot of these people too. And I just have never heard like a transaction count that made me go, oh my God, I should immediately jump on Instagram, uh,
Yeah.
but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I would be interested if you know of some just regular real estate agent accounts that are absolutely crushing it with views and transactions versus the what's my shtick type of
Yeah.
the content. And it's cool. There's this one I saw this one the other day too. I think it's I want to say a more mature woman. Is that the right term? Let's just say a woman. She's probably in her 60s or so.
Lots.
Yeah, she's probably in her 60s, and she is, it's almost like she's uh,
Yes.
making fun of,
Yeah.
trying to go viral or something on
Yeah.
Instagram. So
I
and it
know
was,
exactly what you're talking about.
yeah, and it came off really, really well. I
Mhm.
thought, man, this is some good
Very
stuff.
dry humor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she's trying to, yeah.
Hey, real quick, if you're thinking about changing brokerages or you're brand new and you're thinking about choosing a brokerage, well, Travis and I would love to talk to you about partnering with us at eXp. You'll get access to all of our coaching, training, and courses at no cost, but mainly we want to see if we're a good fit for each other. So just check the description below and you can book a call with myself and Travis, and we look forward to speaking with you.
And she's going viral, kind of like making fun of, an agent on Instagram trying to make viral content. So it's really good. So yeah, I think and sometimes I think maybe I should just do that. I think we should just start a skit show and just do all funny stuff. That'd probably be, 10 times more fun than what we do now, which is just boring old real estate content.
We can make some pretty funny content, especially if it was office style. You just follow us around for a little while, you'd get some good one-liners out of that. So
Yeah. They captured all the behind the scenes, all
yeah.
of our Zoom conversations, and yeah. But other than that, I mean, yeah, so you do everything you can to protect yourself from the platforms, or platform afterlife, you should say. You should always
Mhm.
understand what the rules are, but at the same time, know that you're not in control of any of this stuff. You're not at all whatsoever. I mean, I mentioned that we had our channel over this last year. I mean, we were hacked with a couple of times, and so something like that I just never even really imagined. Although Think Media, or the Think Media podcast, which Think Media has, I think, 3.5 million subscribers. The Think Media podcast, which is a separate channel, That's got a couple 100,000 on there, I think. And I remember sometime last year, their channel got completely hacked and taken over. And I remember
Yeah.
Sean posted about that. And it took about a week or so, and he was able to recover it with the help of YouTube. But initially, the first 3 or 4 days, you could just see the panic almost in his, because he was posting about it, talking about it. And even though he was like, okay, we're doing this or working on this, you could just see, I mean, whole
That's great.
demand. Yeah. And it was interesting, that happened. And you could see a little bit of freak out. And I would be the same. I mean, if the channel shut down tomorrow, it's gonna hurt. It would hurt big time. And can we recover through email? And probably so, but it would be tough, and that's the things that we have relied on these platforms significantly. Now, like in our coaching business with passive prospecting, that relies heavily on ads, especially through Facebook. And that should be mostly safe. But at the same time, how many times we've been shut down by Facebook? We've had ads rejected, we've had copy rejected, we've had this or that or everything else. I mean, it's crazy. Uh these platforms we use like Stripe and Twilio and everything else, they hold us hostage all the time.
All the time.
They're just like, oh, you know what, we're going to hold your money for 60 days. Or
Yep.
even like Twilio, we spend a lot of money. That's a phone number. So through text messaging and everything else, we spend a lot of money each month. And like last month, the card was maxed or something. So a payment didn't go through. And then all of a sudden they just shut down our account. And for like 2 days, it took us 2 days to, and so we were without text messaging or, it's just like, come on, and
Yep.
that makes me, and now I'm like, but at the same time, what phone number do I actually own out there? If I get a phone number anywhere, do I actually own that phone number? Which is why we always emphasize to put your phone number in your description where you can always change that, because if we lost our phone numbers tomorrow, we can make that change in our description across all of our videos and wouldn't skip a beat. But if we have that embedded on our video, on the screen, making that change is very, very difficult, if not impossible. And maybe you can go back and blur that out, but then you have
We've done it.
yeah.
And it sucks.
Yeah.
Meaning I did that and it sucked. It took forever.
So yeah, it's just interesting because now we live in this subscription-based world. We live in this reoccurring revenue world where everything seems like a subscription. Everything is rented, so to speak. Even if you go on Amazon and even if you buy a movie on Amazon, it like disappears after 6 months, or something. You don't actually, you lose access to it after 6 months or something. Rent is like a 48-hour rental on Amazon. The other night I rented something and it said, I was about to play it and it said, once you hit play, it's only up for 48 hours. And I just thought, wow, geez.
That's a problem for you, Levi, since you have to watch things and stop and watch things and stop.
Well, that's what I was like, geez, yeah, it's a lot of pressure. Would love to watch this 2.5-hour movie in one shot, but yeah. So it's just interesting. It's like I can't even rent this for a week, a month, 30 days. Come on.
Yep.
And no, it's 48 hours. So phone numbers now, especially ones that work with CRMs that you have to buy, so to speak, you're really just renting those. Try missing a payment. Oh my God.
It was such a pain. We couldn't even figure out which card was supposed to be. It was so complicated.
Yeah, and we deal with this stuff with Stripe. We've had to, bring in other payment processors just because, and we don't do anything wrong, but then they just decide, oh, you've had way too many transactions this month, so therefore we're going to hold it. We're going to hold on to some money just because you're doing too much business. So it's just interesting, everything that happens. So you always want to make sure you have everything backed up. You have all your videos saved as well. Those are in a place that you can find them, and they should be going on your website anyways as you go along, because otherwise, if they don't, then you're going to have to go back and start adding, a backlog and sorting through all of that and everything. So you should have a website that looks pretty much like your YouTube channel or even your Instagram, where you're hosting these videos and you just have that as a backup.
Yeah. Well, and I would just say, as a general note across anything that you do, always have a backup plan, but also just don't get complacent and assume that everything is going to be the same tomorrow as it is today. Be on the offensive when it comes to your business, and have, go deeper when you have the chance to go deeper on something. With YouTube, we give you kind of the action plan to get that first year really, really solid on your channel. But as soon as you've gotten through that, always be looking for that next thing. How can I do this better? What's one way I can go a little bit deeper with this process, with the platform that I'm using? And that will open up new lead sources to you in and of itself. So just don't fall into a complacency with anything that you're doing with your business, and never assume that everything's going to be exactly the same tomorrow. Because if we've seen anything, especially in the last 2 or 3 months, everything is changing all the time. Regulation is changing, platforms are changing, new things are coming up. So just kind of play your business on offense, and you'll be a lot better off than, you wake up one day and suddenly it's not there, simply because you weren't paying attention to what was going on in the world around you, and you didn't have backup plans for things that you should have had backup plans for.
Yeah. For sure. So check the description below. You can get access to the Passive Prospecting book. You can also join us on our next backstage event if you like. If you want to partner with us at EXP, that is there as well. And we will see you on the next video. Actually, you should check out this video, which is on daily seller leads. Yeah, you definitely want to check that one out. So we'll see you on the next one.
See ya.
Thank you for joining us on today's podcast. If you're interested in partnering with us to access our YouTube course and coaching at no cost, schedule a call at passiveprospectingpartner.com.